Hi, my name is Johan, and today we're going to look at how we can use Capacitor.js to build your Noodle apps as an iOS or Android app. Capacitor is a tool that lets you build a native iOS or Android app using your web app as the base. It can also give you access to the iOS or Android platform SDKs to use in your web app, but we won't cover that today. Let's have a quick look at what we will cover in this video. So today we're gonna look at installing Capacitor and initializing a Capacitor project. Then we're gonna deploy our Noodle project into that Capacitor project. And then we're gonna see how we set things up so that we can build Android apps. And next step, we're gonna look at how you build for iOS. And the last thing we're gonna cover in this video is adding your own app icon. But before we get started, there are a couple of prerequisites that you need to take in order to be able to follow along in this video. So let's have a look at those. You need to install Node.js. Go have a look at the Capacitor homepage to see exactly which version of Node.js that you need. You also need Android Studio if you want to build Android apps, so make sure to install that. If you want to build iOS apps, you need to be on a Mac and you need to install Xcode. And then the final thing is it's great to have some type of text editor and a terminal. I'm going to be using VS Code as my text editor, and VS Code has a built-in terminal, so that's where I'm going to be executing all of the commands. All right, so now that we have covered that and you have installed the tools that you need, I just want to mention that all the commands that I'm going to run today that are related to Capacitor can be found in their documentation. So just go to their website and find the docs here. And then you can see here are all of the commands that we are going to be running here today. And then how to get on with iOS or Android. And we'll have a look at that in this video. So let's get started. First, we're going to be installing Capacitor and initializing a Capacitor project. The first thing I want to do is to create a folder where my project is going to be. And don't mind this recording of my iPhone here. We'll have a look at that a little bit later. But I'm going to create a folder here on my desktop. And I'm going to name it Pet Finder because I have a pretty cool Noodle project that I want to make an iOS and Android app out of. So I'm going to create this here, and then I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code here. So I'm going to click over here and I'm going to open this folder that we just created. So I'm going to click Open Folder. Then we're going to find the desktop here, and here's my Pet Finder folder. So I'm going to open that up. And I'm going to say, yes, trust the authors of this. And here you can see it's completely empty. And I'm just going to click this to close that. Now, you could open a terminal window, or in this case, since I am using Visual Studio Code, I'm going to open a terminal window in here. So let's do this, and let's make this window a little bit larger, like so. Okay, so here I am in the terminal, I am in the Pet Finder folder, and now we want to install Capacitor. And to do that, you're going to run the following command, npm install at capacitor core like this, hit enter, and then this is going to install. It might take a little bit longer for you. I've already installed this, so it's sort of just updating it for me. Next, you're going to want to run npm install at capacitor /CLI or command line interface, and we're going to say save dev like this. Hit enter, and that's going to install for us. And as you can see, we already have a few more things inside of our folder here. And if we have a quick look in this package.json file, you can see that here we are sort of defining what node packages we are going to be using inside of this project. All right, so I'm going to close that again. So the next thing we need to do is to initialize our capacitor project in this folder. And to do that, you run the command npx cap for capacitor and then init. And here, as you can see, now we are going to answer a bunch of questions to set up the configuration file for capacitor. So I'm going to give my name of my app. I'm gonna call it Pet Finder, like so. Then you should give a package ID, and you can read here exactly what that is. I'm going to call mine com.noodle.petfinder, like this. Hit enter. And then it is asking me what directory my web assets are going to be in. And in this case, I am going to put it inside of a folder called www, just like this. So I actually don't have to type anything in. I could have hit just enter, but I'm just going to type in www here and hit enter. And that's it. So now you can see here it was successful, and our config file is created. So let's have a quick look at that. So here we can see, here's all the information that we just filled in. And the web directory, that's where we're going to deploy the Noodle project to. So we should create inside of this folder, Pet Finder, we should create another folder called www. So I'm going to do that here. And now we have this folder and it's completely empty. All right, so in this next step, we're going to deploy our Noodle project. So let's have a look at that. Here I am in my Noodle project, and this is an application that helps you find pets that have gone missing. And it is using a bunch of different things. It's going to be using the camera and a QR code scanner. And if I click here, you'll see me. Hello, hello. I'll turn that off again. We have a map from the Mapbox module, and then you can register new pets and so on that have been lost. So this is what my project is, my Noodle project, and this is what I want to make into an Android app or an iOS app. And to do that, we need to deploy this to the folder that we call www. So go into the deploy panel here in Noodle, and then you want to choose the self-hosting option here. And if this is not available to you, just contact us and we'll help you get it unlocked. I need to select which backend I'm using for this project, and this project is using the Lost Pets backend. And next I'm going to pick a folder that I'm going to be deploying my project to. I'm going to click here. Here I am on the desktop. Here's my Pet Finder folder, and here's the www folder. So this is the one that I want to have selected, and then I'm going to click open here. and we can see deploy was successful. So if we go back to VS Code now and have a quick look in the www folder, here we can see here's all of the Noodle project. We have an index.html file and we have our index.js file and all of the different assets that are being used in the project. So great. All right, so the next step here is we're going to set up so that we can build an Android app from my Pet Finder application. Okay, so I'm back here in VS Code. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger here, and I'm still in the terminal, and I'm still in the Pet Finder folder here, so in the root. Now, if I want to be able to create an Android application, I need to install the Capacitor's Android platform. And to do that, we have to run this command, npm install at capacitor/Android. And I'll hit enter and it will install. And next we need to tell our Capacitor project that we are going to be using the Android platform. So to do that, we use the command npx cap and then add, and then we say which platform we want to add. In this case, it's Android. We hit enter on that, and it sort of adds a bunch of stuff, and you can see here there's a new folder up here called Android, and this contains all the sort of files that are needed for an Android project. The next step is to open this in Android Studio now, because it's in Android Studio that we'll actually be building the Android app and testing it in an emulator if we want to do that. So to open this project in Android Studio, you just run the command npx cap open Android. And now that I hit enter, we're gonna see that Android Studio is gonna be starting up here. It will ask me if I want to trust this project, and I'm gonna do that because I'm the one that's written it. And then Android Studio takes a little while here to load everything. So let's give it a little bit of time. And when I've tested this before and tried running this before, I always get this project update recommended prompt, and I have been doing that. So I've just clicked here, and then I've said begin upgrade like this, and then it tells me what it's going to be doing, and then I've said run the selected steps, and then you just need to give this a little bit of time. All right, so now this is all set up. The next step is to build this and test it in on a phone if you have that. I don't have that, so I'm gonna be using an emulator. I'm gonna click over here on the device manager. And as you can see, I already have an emulator here, but I'm gonna remove it so that we can create one together. So I'm gonna delete this one. I'm gonna say yes. And then I'm gonna say create device here. I want to test this on a phone. Let's say a Pixel 5. I'm gonna click next here. I have installed the latest API version or API level 33. So that's what I'm choosing here. Of course, you can install all the other ones and use those if you want to. I'm just gonna click next. And then here we can actually set a few more things here under advanced settings. And since my app is using the camera, I am actually going to click that, and then here we can say that I'm going to keep the front camera emulated, and the back camera, instead of showing a virtual scene, I'm going to ask it to use my webcam. And you'll see it's not perfect because for some reason the emulator here, it does not it's not able to correctly sort of position the camera view. So you'll see that it's not properly showing the image, but we'll see that in a second here. So I'll click finish here. And now I have my device here. So now I want to create my project. You can either click make project here, then it would just sort of create the app for you without running it. And here you can, if you have a phone connected, you could select your phone here. I'm going to be using this Pixel 5, my virtual device here, and I'm going to run it on this. So I'm just going to click this run app here. And again, we need to give it a little bit of time. You see now it's connecting to the emulator. I'm gonna make this into its own window so that we can make it a little bit larger, like this. And now it's starting my app. Very exciting. Let's give it a little bit of time. Since it is an emulator, it can be a little bit slow. And wow, here we go. Here's my app. Let's move around a little bit. Here's my map from Mapbox. I can register a new pet here if I need to. And if I go back here to search, if I click here to use the camera, you'll see that it isn't actually showing me anything for the camera. And that's because in Android, as well as in iOS, the user needs to actually give your application permission to use the camera. And so this is something we need to add to our Android application. So for now, I'm just gonna close this emulator. And to add the ability for the user to give permission to this application to use the camera, you're going to want to go into the Android manifest here. So if I double click on that, it opens up in the editor here. And at the very bottom here, we have the permissions that it's using. Right now it's using the internet permission. That's great. We need that. But we also need to add another permission. And so that permission is the camera permission. And if it's not here at the top for you, you just start typing camera and it will show up. So I'll select that. Oops. And then we'll close this tag. I'll save. And then we can run the app again. The app is already running. Let's terminate that. So it starts anew. And now when I click here to scan a QR code, you can see that we get this question and we will give it permission here. And here I am. And as you can see, the camera view is a little bit misrepresented. But I have tested this on a real Android device. And the camera works perfectly then. All right. So that's actually it for Android. You've now built an Android application. We are gonna look at how you switch out the, if I bring this back up here. We'll terminate this process. We are going to look at how you can add your own app icon and your own splash screen, but we'll do that a little bit later here in this video. Okay, so that was Android. We have our app up and running on Android. Now let's look at how we can get it running as an iOS app. So here I am, excuse me. So here I am back in VS Code and still in the terminal here. When it comes to iOS, there's an extra step needed. You need to install something that's called CocoaPods. And this is a tool that's being used when building the iOS app. So to install CocoaPods, you type the following command: sudo gem install, and then CocoaPods, like this. And then you have to give your password. Hopefully I gave the correct one, and there we go. And I have already installed this, so it went quite quickly here for me. It might take a little bit longer for you, just so you know. And I also do want to mention that the first time I did this worked perfectly. But then when I was trying to actually update my iOS app, as we will do a little bit later, I ran into an issue because I am on an M1 Mac. So I just want to show you very quickly here, in the capacitor docs under the iOS troubleshooting, down here a little bit further down, you can see this FFI bus error. And this is exactly what happened to me. So I had to run these two commands, and then I actually had to go into the pods folder and run the pod install command inside of the folder where the pod file is. Now, after I had done that the first time, I don't have to do this again, and everything works as it should. I just wanted to mention, if anyone else happens to run into this, here is the fix for it. All right, so let's jump back here to VS Code. So we've installed the CocoaPods now, and the next step is very similar to what we did for Android, but in this case it's going to be for iOS instead. So we need to install the Capacitor iOS package, and we do that by using the command npm install capacitor/iOS, and I'll hit enter, and you can see it installs down here. Let me clear the terminal here so that we can look at stuff up here. Next step is very similar. Remember how we had to add or basically tell our project here that we are also going to be building for iOS. So you need to execute the command npx cap add iOS, hit enter, and now it installs a bunch of stuff here, and it's updating some dependencies, taking a little bit of time, but here we go, and we can see that the iOS platform was added successfully, and this is great. So next, we want to open this up inside of Xcode. So let's do that by executing the npx cap open iOS. And now it opens Xcode here for me. If we give it a little bit of time, here we have Xcode. Let me make this a little bit bigger, since we'll be working here now. And we need to let Xcode take its time here. It needs to index some stuff, and now it says here that it's ready. And you can see here it says Johan Olsson's iPhone, and that's because I have my phone connected to to the computer here, and I actually have it set up so that you can see my phone here in QuickTime. So let's run this, and you do that by clicking the Run button here. And it says build failed, so let's see what that could be. It says signing for app requires a development team. So this happened because I am trying to run this on my phone. And when you do that, you need to add some extra information. So if we go in here to our app, and then we click targets here, and then under the signing and capabilities here, I need to select a team here. And I have added my own Apple developer account here, as can you, or if you're working at a company, you might have an account for your company. So I'm gonna select this, and then it is creating some certificates and stuff. And now we can try and run this again. I'm just gonna sign in on the phone here in the background. So I'll hit the run button. It's starting the build, and you can see it's building. And let's switch over to my phone here. Preparing to install. It's installing to the phone here. And hopefully we'll see it. Here it is, down here. And let's open it. Okay, so here's the next step in all of this. So when you install on an iOS device like this, you need to give permission to the app to run on your phone. And I'll show you exactly where to do that. So I'm gonna hit cancel here, and I'm gonna navigate over to my settings. And then in general, I believe it is, down here under VPN and device management, you can see it says developer app, and it's not trusted. So if I click this, you see this is the pet finder, and it's actually from a different test I did. But up here, if I click trust and then hit trust again, now if I go back, let's also get rid of that. Now if I go back on my phone to the actual app here and click it, it launches. Awesome. And you can see the map is here with all the missing pets. What about the camera? So I click on the camera and we get nothing. So again, very similar to how it is on Android. We need to ask the users of this app for permission to use the camera. And the way you do that is you select app out here, make sure targets is app here, and then click on the info tab here. Down here by bundle name, you click the plus, like this, and then it pops up this long list of stuff. And we are looking for something that's called privacy and camera usage description. So I'm gonna click that, and then you're supposed to put in a description here why you need to use the camera. And so let's say something like uses camera to scan QR codes to find lost pets, something like that. Now, if I run this again, let's exit out of the app here, and let's hit run. It's building. Build succeeded, and it updated the app here. Now I'm gonna start it. Here's the app. Now when I click this button to initiate the QR code scanning, it asks me if I want to give it permission, and I do. And here we go. So I'm gonna scan this and hit search. And we found Goldie. Let's mark her as found. Cool. So now you have an iOS app. Okay, so as the final thing here, we want to add our own app icon. So we want to replace the capacitor icon that is used when we first install this to iOS or Android. Okay, so we're going to be using this tool called Cordova-Res, and we're gonna install it. But before we do, in order to get this to actually work on Android, there's an extra step that we need to do. So it says here that we need to create a folder, excuse me, in our project folder called resources and add these two images. And that's all correct. But if you go to the Cordova-Res documentation, it also tells you that for Android, you also need to have a subfolder called Android that contains these two images. And they need to be this size. So we are going to do that too. But first, let's install our Cordova-Res, and then we'll create this folder. I'm just gonna copy this resources name here. And here we are in VS Code and in the terminal. So first we'll install Cordova-Res. So npm install Cordova-Res, hit enter, and it installs. Great. Next, we want to, inside of our pet finder, create that folder called resources. And inside of resources, we want to have another folder called Android. Now, I have my images that I need right here in a folder called app icon. So let's take these first two, icon and splash, and just drag them into here. And then let's take these two and drag them into the Android folder. Perfect. So now we want to generate for each platform, we want to generate the icons and splash screens needed. And we do that with these commands right here. So first, let's do it for iOS. So I'll run here. And it has generated for iOS. And next we want to do the same for Android. So all we need to change is this to Android. Hit enter, and now we've generated the resources for Android. Now let's open up, or rather, now we want to make sure that the iOS and Android projects are synced. And we do that by using the command npx cap sync. And this will sync all the changes that we do to the iOS and Android projects. So we'll run that and give it the time it needs. Now let's have a look at iOS. So again, we'll run npx cap open iOS. And we can see that it has a new app icon here, and my phone is still connected. Let's bring that to the forefront here. But I haven't reinstalled or re-ran this, so it's still the old icon here. So let's click the run button here, and it's building. And now we can see we have the new icon. Pretty neat. Now let's see if we can get this to work on Android as well. All right, so let's try and see if we can get this new icon working on our Android device. So let's start Android Studio by typing npx cap open Android. And here we get our Android Studio. And I want to run this. So I'll click here. It's starting the emulator. Taking a little bit of time, but we should be seeing now also on Android that we have the new app icon as well as a nice little splash screen as soon as the emulator feels it is fit to start. Oh, here it was. Some weirdness going on there, but the app has started. Let's see what it looks like if we actually see it. Oh, here it is. Very nice. And if we click that, perfect. I think we can actually look at the, let's see if I can remember how to do this on Android. If we do this and then we think that's how you actually close it, and then we open it up again, we should see the splash screen. Exactly. So yeah, that's pretty cool. We've now sort of learned how we can wrap a Noodle app in Capacitor in order to build a native app for Android or iOS. Capacitor also has a lot of plugins that can make use of the different hardware and features that are specific to the devices that you want to use. So that's definitely something that you can explore. Otherwise, your next steps are gonna be to go through the different platforms sort of submission and publishing processes. And of course, you can find information about that online for both iOS as well as Google Play. Thank you very much. Hope it's been helpful, and happy noodling.